Feel the wind. It feels nice on my face. That's my favorite line from this game.
From this game?
From this game that we're playing now.
From Final Fantasy X.
There's a lot of lines that I could have busted out just then.
But that's the one you chose.
A lot of the writing in Final Fantasy X is, how should I put this? Goof troop. It is clown shoes.
It's melodramatic in a way that Final Fantasy is known for.
I think that it goes above and beyond the Call of Duty in that regard.
Let's get this out of the way right now. I'm actually a big fan of Final Fantasy X. I'm the one on the sticks right now. Griffin, you are not the biggest fan.
I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy X fan. No, it's sort of where I started to become a little bit disillusioned with this series. I think everybody has that game where, and I'm not saying that it's been all bad after that, but I think everybody has that game in Final Fantasy X or in the Final Fantasy franchise where they're like, this isn't as good as the ones that I've played before.
Like, maybe this isn't my series anymore. Like maybe this isn't what I signed up for.
I have liked games that came out after 10 more than I liked 10.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't love it. We should point out we're playing Final Fantasy X HD Remaster.
Yes.
Part of the Final Fantasy X 10-2 HD Remaster. You're playing it on PlayStation 3 right now. It's also out on Vita.
Yeah.
Which is actually the platform I've been playing it on.
And
a little bit confused.
It's kind of cool. It's not cross-buy. You don't buy the PS3 version and get Vita automatically. But if you have both, I think you can cross-save between them.
That seems weird that it would be one of those and not the other.
It's very strange. But it is nice if you have both.
I'm curious as to why you decided to pick this up on PS3 because I'm curious as to why you're spending your time playing it on PS3, I should say. Because it seems like, I don't know, RPGs to me have always been a better fit on handheld. And I'm actually a little more confident that I'm going to be able to make it through Final Fantasy X all the way for the first time on handheld, just because it's, I don't know.
So I am playing it for review. Obviously, our review is going to be a little bit late because there was a billion things coming out the last few weeks. So I'm going to be playing on both. I'm going to be testing on both. I like having... So here's the thing. I play Vita a lot. I like my Vita a lot. But when I'm playing Vita, I usually am playing in bed and baby's sleeping and I have the sound turned down.
You have a baby?
I have a baby.
I'm just kidding. I knew about your baby. Good old Jeffrey?
Jeffrey, yeah. To be honest, I don't remember his name.
Like you're too busy playing Final Fantasy.
Yeah. But I want to with this game, what's the one thing you want in Final Fantasy more than anything? You want to hear that great voice acting.
It's really bad. It's like, all joking aside, I can't believe... I guess I forgot. I can't believe how bad it is in places.
I should probably... This is a good... we should talk about this. So, one of the things Final Fantasy is known for is the sphere grid. This really interesting, unique leveling system, which you're going to see on display right here. Whoops, I keep going back to the main menu because I'm an idiot. But so the whole idea is you're seeing this path, this purple path. So I started right here as Lulu.
Are you playing with the expert?
So this is the expert sphere grid, yeah. So
okay. You want to explain what the difference is?
Oh man. So one of the differences between Final Fantasy X HD and Final Fantasy X Original is Final Fantasy X
extra crispy.
Final Fantasy X HD includes the International Edition, which, despite being called the International Edition, was never released in the U.S. And that includes a couple of some new content, some new bosses, and a new version of the sphere grid. So when you start the game, it says, do you want to use the standard sphere grid, the same version from the original Final Fantasy X, or do you want to use Expert? And since I've played the original Final Fantasy X multiple times, I was like, well, I'm going to go with Expert. It's a slightly more difficult sphere grid, but I guess the idea is that with the Expert grid, by the end of the game, your characters can be way more powerful than they could with the original sphere
because
grid.
It doesn't put as many gates in your way if you want to cross over into other people's...
So you can see I'm Lulu. I started here, and this is her regular path going down this way. But if I wanted, I could have just gone off in any direction here.
Yeah. See, that I am glad that I did not go this route because, I do not like the sphere grid. I think it's a very inventive way of handling like character progression in a role playing game, and like that is my jam. But I think
it scares you.
It's scary because it forces you to like make these decisions really early on in the game that unless you like spend a bunch of time grinding and saving up sphere grid levels that you can use to move back and correct, whatever pathing mistakes you made until you find certain things like the teleport sphere and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you're committing to these decisions that could have like permanent repercussions if you have no idea what you're doing, especially for characters like Kimari, who like at the beginning, like you can go in like 8 different directions with him, and that will determine for a majority of the game what kind of character he is. And without knowing like what the game is at that point, that's still in basically the tutorial part of the level. It's like, all right, I'll figure out who this character is going to be. Like that seems like pretty poor design.
Well, I think the important thing to keep in mind too is with the standard grid. Whoops, I should have gotten that with Lauren. I'm bad at this video game.
Oh man, you are not putting those angry commenters on your latest Final Fantasy review. You are sort of proving their point. You just didn't get it, man.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I think it's important to point out with the standard grid, if you're using the standard grid, you really do have to put a lot of effort to get off path. Like
with most of the characters, yeah,
except for with Kimari. But with most of the and the thing is, Kimari kind of exists so that you can mess him up and do whatever with him. So like you should be fine as long as you kind of stick to that main path.
Sure.
With the expert grid, it's definitely, and I would say, if this is your first time playing Final Fantasy X in particular, don't use the expert grid because it's much easier to get like this is all just a mess. Like I could go any way here.
Can we okay? So you are a fan in general of the sphere grid.
Yeah, I love the sphere grid. I think it's a really interesting system. The one complaint that it gets that I think is legitimate is that I've heard from a lot of fans is by the end of the game when you are kind of like going wherever you want, it makes it so that all of the characters are basically exactly the same, and all of them are just badasses at everything, which I think is kind of fun, but
Sure.
also I can see why people would be annoyed by that.
I do like the idea that like you could pick up an HP node and then all of a sudden like your character has 200 more health. Like that is a definite like instead of like having the system where you level up and then you get like an indeterminate number of like extra strength or whatever. Like there's exactly what you're getting. It does what it says on the tin. I dig that. I just think like from an interface standpoint, it's just gobbledygook. It's just like.
It's intimidating when you first look at it. It sort of reminds me of have you played Path of Exile?
No.
It's a Diablo type game.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar.
It's fun, but it has a similar like giant like skill like when you first open the skill tree, it's just this mess of things, and it's intimidating in the same way. It looks sort of similar to the sphere grid. So I guess like I've definitely got to keep in mind like I'm coming in this having played the game before.
Sure, I've played the game before too. I did not commit to completion.
I just want to know. I want you to know that I believe in you.
What's your? This is interesting. I feel like this is the new like Cake or Pie or Beatles or Elvis. What is your ideal Final Fantasy game?
Oh, it's 6 for me.
Okay.
You might know it as Final Fantasy 3.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's a popular choice.
6 is the one that it was like one of the first ones I played. It really got me into the series. So for me, that's always been.
Here's why I think I've never really taken a shining to 10.
Yeah.
Is because my favorite is actually 9.
Sure. I think 9's very good as well.
And I think that it's a pretty drastic departure in just about every conceivable way.
Sure, yeah, you're not wrong.
In terms of like the tone and the world that it's set in and the mechanics. 9 was such a like return to form, I feel like. Whereas 7 and 8, I like both of those, and they both did some really fascinating stuff. But 9 was just like, this is the white mage, this is the black mage, this is the summoner, this person is a thief. These are their skills. This is how you develop them. It was so old school, and I really liked that. I think, and then I don't know. This one sort of does away with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, one thing that I like about 10 that is a little bit more old school, but you're certainly right. Like you have the sort of like roles that everyone fits into, but as I said, like as you get further into the game and further into the sphere grid, those kind of melt away.
Sure.
One of the things that I like about 10 that's a little bit more old school is it's actually turn-based. It's the first actual turn-based, like fully turn-based Final Fantasy since 3, like the original Japanese 3. I think.
How do you mean?
It's not what's the
It's
term?
not ATB.
ATB. Yeah, it's not like a bar filling up and then you act. So here we go. Play Blitzball, the real reason everyone's here. Welcome.
I don't think I ever won a Blitzball game when I played it.
I just won my first game.
The odds. I never understood. I think the rules of Blitzball.
Blitzball's weird.
It's really very strange. And in terms of like Final Fantasy side quest diversions, I don't know, man. Give me, what is it? Triple Triad. And
oh, those card games are really good.
they're really good. They're super, super good.
I really liked both of those.
Can I also say, and maybe it's just because I haven't played the PlayStation 2 version in a really long time.
Yeah.
I don't really know that the HD remastering, the spit shine this bad boy got, is like super impressive to me.
So here's the thing that... Wait, what is this? Oh no, what did I say?
Is this Oaka? No, this is a different
I better
guy.
give him money.
Yeah. Make it rain.
I got an ice lance. Cool. Yeah, I think one of the things people are going to notice that's easy to forget about the PS2 era. One of the things with the PS2 era is that graphics were starting to look good-ish, but animation was still really bad.
Really super bad.
And we're still, like, I mean, developers are still figuring out how to do natural animation. That's still a problem.
No, but there's some stuff that's just like in scenes where it's not like a CGI cutscene. It's scenes where they're like having a conversation and like all walking upstairs, and the walking upstairs animation is just their legs moving as they start to like levitate diagonally.
Yeah.
Like it feels it looks, it's weird because it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good. But that particular part kind of has a Shenmue vibe for it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're 100% right, and maybe we'll get a little bit of that right here. But yeah, I think it's the animation in particular that's going to pull people out of this a little and remind them. And that stuff hasn't really been altered. You know, they made it HD. They made the graphics look smoother and nicer than they do on PS2, but they haven't changed a lot of that stuff. Here's Seymour, everybody's favorite.
I do want to ask a question about Seymour that I've always wondered about.
Yeah.
On his chest, are those like weird stretch marks? Not the tattoos, but below that, between I would say his pecs and his second row.
Sure,
abs.
I think I see where you're talking about.
I think maybe he blasted his abs too fast, too hard.
Yeah.
And then his skin just couldn't sort of keep up with it.
Well, you know,
and then it just stretched, gave him those tiger stripes.
When you're in the fast-moving world of Final Fantasy villainy,
yeah.
Spoilers: Seymour's a bad guy.
No shit. Look at, he's got devil horns on his head.
Yeah. You know, you've got to, sometimes you need to adapt really quickly. You need to blow those abs real fast.
Yeah.
And you can't worry about, you know, if it's going to leave a mark on your body, even though the only clothes you have show that off very prominently.
You're right. You would think you would find like a tasteful sweater or something to cover that up.
Those don't exist in this world. Look at what everyone's wearing.
Nobody's wearing anything I would classify as tasteful.
Yeah.
Yuna, maybe.
Yuna's the closest.
Yeah.
You know,
having actual adult clothes on.
It's the big bow on the back that ruins it for her. Everything else, I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. But then she has
every
bow.
other character in this game is like, we need to see at least 60% of your chest. 60% of it, and then you can walk out the door. Anything more than that, and you're
partially it's the amount of detail in the character models compared to the PS1. But this is the first Final Fantasy where like the clothing got to a really like really, guys, come on.
Oh, let's put a basket on his knee. Like, don't put a basket on his knee.
That's not where baskets go. It doesn't even do anything.
Why does he need that there? So okay, expert sphere grid, new hot GFX. What else is new? in this
So,
bu-
one thing that's important in this package that we haven't talked about, in addition to Final Fantasy X HD, it includes Final Fantasy X-2 HD.
on the PS3 version, what's weird is on Vita version, if you pick that up, the actual card only has Final Fantasy X on it, and it comes with a download voucher for Final Fantasy X too.
Yes.
So
Which
like,
that's better than, I think originally they were going to just sell them both separately.
yeah.
So
So,
that's,
I mean,
that's
it
an
is better than
improvement.
that, but like, unless you have invested in a bigger memory card, mine's been full like for a long time.
Yeah.
Every time I install a game on there, I have to decide what to bump off. One of these days, I'll get desperate and kick off Persona 4, but that's not gonna
Don't
happen
do
again.
it.
So here's what's weird. I finished Final Fantasy X too.
I can only
What?
I beat 10-2, didn't beat 10. You know why? Because
What?
the dress sphere system rules.
So that is, if you're into like having very set defined roles, that certainly goes more towards that, and it's the job system, right?
Set defined job system that you with a level of fluidity that no other game in this series has ever come close to doing.
There's very mixed opinions on 10-2. I am certainly in the group that I think, well, there's a lot about 10-2 that's ridiculous. For example, the fact that it's named 10-2.
Sure.
I really like 10-2. I think it's fantastic.
There's some definite junk in there, but like Final Fantasy X has like a sort of slow plodding pace between like how completely super hyper verbose every single character is in every single scene, and there's also
We're
lot
seeing
of,
a long
like,
cutscene right now.
there's a lot of and they're so frequent. They're so frequent, especially early on in the game. It's
Especially the first half of the game.
enter a screen, talk for a few minutes, have a few fights, move on to the next screen, repeat ad nauseum.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of like, because it was one of those first PS2 games that really showed off what the hardware was capable of. There's a lot of just like panning shots over a watery vista.
Yeah.
That take a super long time. That like nowadays you would never see anything that long.
But when I bought this game when it launched on PS2, I was like, "This is incredible."
Look at that water. They're in the water. They don't have to breathe. There's a lot of stuff like that. Like Final Fantasy X is a very slow game. And 10-2 I think does away with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's very fast paced. It's like mission based,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. Actually, if now is a good time for you, I can hop out of the game proper. We're gonna actually we might have to do a cut here because we actually need to like. I don't think there's any way to just quit the game.
Here's a little editing secret for you that I picked up on after doing these videos for a while. Is you don't actually have to say "here comes a cut."
Here comes a cut. So this is on the main menu. You can see you have Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy X-2. In addition to that, you get these two little bonus things, which is Final Fantasy X Eternal Calm. Never come to the U.S. before. It was a sort of in-between mission, in-between thing between Final Fantasy X and X-2. So it's just like a short little gameplay thing that leads into X-2. And then Final Fantasy X-2 Last Mission, which, similar to Eternal Calm, it's a post-game, just a short edition that kind of wraps everything up. And then you also... I don't know if this is just going to lead us into the credits or if it lets us do
Did
this.
you load up a credits
No, well, I was gonna
on this overview video? Like, this is the hot
Can we
vid
look?
content.
Can
that
we look
people
at the credits? Can we just appreciate the work these people have done quick?
Why are you trying to dismantle this series?
What I was trying to show was it includes this like weird audio drama thing that
Oh yeah, no, I remember
that's
that.
supposed to be like people apparently are saying it. Look at that Katase, like respect his work. It's supposed to be this thing that leads into, or people are saying it hints that there could be a Final Fantasy X-3.
I was given a new life.
You know what bums me out is I don't think Final Fantasy IX will ever have any kind of remaster, because it like those graphics were the best that type
Yeah,
of graphic is ever going to be.
The PS1 games are hard. They're hard to do anything like that with.
I think that was one of the best looking PS1 games, and like that's hard to, you can't just like Yeah, throw some new textures on that. All right, let's hop into X2.
Sure, I haven't even done anything in this, so.
Oh well, then let's not maybe.
I mean, we can watch like the opening cutscene or something.
The opening cutscene where they're part of a.
We can watch the opening cutscene and talk about like, hey, look, they're in a pop group now.
They're in a pop group for some reason. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, 10-2 is just such a like. Okay, this is gonna sound super hypocritical because I talked about how much I love 9 because it's such a return to form, and 10-2 is like has like weird action elements to it.
Sort of, yeah.
Like can't you jump?
You can. I feel like it's limited though. I feel like you can jump at like specific parts, right?
I don't. It's been a long time. I haven't installed that on my Vita because I would have to find room. I would have to delete.
Don't delete Persona.
I wouldn't, man. That's my perennial. I play through that all the time. Do you think it's fair for them to be selling this bad boy again?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been long enough since this game came out. Like personally, it's been long enough since I played through it over and over again that I'm excited for an opportunity to play through it again. I'm excited to have cleaner visuals for it. I know, like I said, or like we've said, it's not a huge upgrade in terms of animation or anything. There's still like things that you're going to look at and be like, this looks old. But if you do go back to the PS2 version, it looks better.
Yeah, and it runs pretty good on the Vita. I've run into a couple frame rate issues.
Sure.
But I think for the most part, what is going on?
So this is the beginning of
Look at that. That's like 79% of her skin is exposed. Mm-hmm. That's acceptable in Spira.
Yeah.
That's high Spira fashion.
This is we're watching the opening of Final Fantasy X to close things off because it brings up the
banana cakes.
It brings up the most important part of 10-2, which is
how did this lady
those
summer?
main characters from Final Fantasy X are pop stars now. They're J-pop stars.
How did this, like, what was essentially like a religious figure,
yeah,
become Robin?
Well, it's that voice.
Yeah,
it's that voice.
Bye, clothes. What am I doing? I'm in Spira. I gotta get rid of these clothes.
These games are pretty rad. I think they're good. I think also 10 and 10-2 are both good. They're both good beginners RPGs. They're nice, like if you haven't played a lot of JRPGs before.
Certainly, yeah.
These are good 10, like lead-ins.
10 definitely because it takes so long. It takes its time, like making sure you understand what each character is good at. There's a lot of like scripted fights where it's like, no, don't use me to hurt him. Use this guy.
Yep.
They're not. I don't know. I want to give it a fair shot. I really, really want to finish it because I don't like having Final Fantasy games I haven't beaten just on the table. And I think Vita is going to be a much better option for that because man, I'll play anything on that thing.
I mean, what I'll say is I'm having much more fun going back and reliving these two games than I did playing like Lightning Returns. So
yeah, well, that doesn't seem like an especially high bar.
It's not, but it's like, hey, if this is what I can get and still enjoy Final Fantasy, I'll take it.
Yeah. All right. Well, Phil, thank you for showing me whatever it is we've been watching for the past couple minutes. And thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll have a lot more videos later this week. I don't know if you heard there's a new Diablo expansion. Just came out.
Unfamiliar.
I am kind of too. Fortunately,
Great.
I'm not going to be playing and talking about it. So yeah, thank you all. This is Final Fantasy X and X2. Sweet little rail slide there. We'll see y'all real soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.